Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Barnhart, and this semester, after studying the relations between the United States and China over the years, I decided to do my final presentation on President Richard Nixon's visit to China in 1972 and the historical significance that it holds. As we all know, the relationship between the United States and China was rocky for many years. Lots of push and pull, back and forth between ally and enemy, and I believe that Nixon's visit to China in 1972 was one of the major turning points in the relationship between the two countries. We went from being enemies to starting to build that relationship and the allyship that we have today. So, on July 15th in 1971, President Nixon announced that he was going to be visiting China the following year. And so, in early 1972, in February, Nixon's finally long awaited visit came, and he ended up visiting 3 cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Hangzhou. During the entirety of Nixon's visit in China, he, together with his delegation, held lengthy talks and deliberations with the Chinese administration. This was in hopes of establishing strong diplomatic ties between the United States and China that we had not had previously. And though neither party fully achieved what they had hoped for at the time, the visit proved to be really impactful on the diplomatic relationships. Basically, to fast-track the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries, an agreement was reached to establish liaison offices of each country in the other's capital. And these offices were officially established in 1973, so just a year later. And Nixon's visit was also a significant step towards advancing the United States policy in the events surrounding the Vietnamese War. He understood that forging diplomatic ties with the Communist Republic of China would create a really great opportunity to convince the Soviet Union and initiate a peace treaty with the North Vietnamese administration. This was an incredibly well-calculated move on Nixon's part after visiting the Soviet Union and his one-week trip to China as well. A significant aspect of Nixon's approach in China was his intention to weaken the ties between China and the Soviet Union because they were both such strong communist nations. Nixon knew that establishing a solid diplomatic relationship with China would significantly limit the Soviet Union's influence in Vietnam. Gaining this power and control over the Soviet Union would be a large step towards influencing the better part of Eastern Europe as well. And by weakening the Communist Party, it would also be easier for the United States to handle and deal with China. He also intended to reverse the Chinese role in Vietnam at the time and use China as an ally in effectively containing the situation in Vietnam. However, the fruits of Nixon's visit to China in 1972 weren't really witnessed until 1979. During this time, the two countries had both officially announced that they acknowledged one another and would now craft formal diplomatic ties. The United States announced that it accepted and also respected the administration of China and announced it legitimate. This assured that neither country would have ties with Taiwan, and the diplomatic documents that were signed after Nixon's visit to China in 1972 were also an incredibly important stepping stone for Jimmy Carter, who would follow him as president. And with the Carter administration, a significant development that came out of this was the opening of embassies in both the United States and China. Kind of like the liaison offices that I mentioned earlier, diplomatic officials were sent to establish these embassy offices in both countries. And these embassies kind of created a significant open forum for diplomatic issues to be discussed and openly addressed. And despite many of the issues and challenges that the two countries were facing, their relationship greatly improved thanks to the Carter and Nixon administration. There were remarkable gains in security, economic matters, and technology as well. In the end, Nixon's visit to China in 1972 had great historical impact then, as well as now. The relationship between the United States and China began to form an allyship after this, and his successor, Jimmy Carter, carried this on. And I believe it's inappropriate to talk about one without the other. Nixon laid a strong foundation for Carter, and Carter continued Nixon's success with the relationship between the United States and China. Ultimately, the 1972 visit of President Richard Nixon to China brought an end to the long lived Cold period of poor diplomatic relations between the two countries.